In today's Locked On NBA, I'm talking to Alex Wolfe, who hosts the Locked On Knicks podcast about Team USA and their opening game loss in the Tokyo Olympics to France. It's all coming up. Let's get into it.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi guys, and welcome to Locked On NBA. I am your Monday host, Josh Lloyd, and I'm also the host of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, and I am the lead analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. If you are here on YouTube, why don't you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. Give this video a thumbs up. You're going to enjoy it. I guarantee you that. And we're here to talk about Olympic basketball because Team USA, they lost to Team France. So we're going to talk to Alex Wolfe of the Locked On Knicks podcast and break down what actually happened there with Team USA and how the Olympic basketball tournament is shaping up. Before I get into talking to Alex, though, I've got to tell you about Built Bar, because Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. Do you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors that sometimes it is hard to choose what your favorite one is? There's something for everyone. Coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. My favorite flavor out of that is the cookies and cream, but you might have a different one. If you don't know what your favorite flavor is, grab yourself a mixed box. All flavors, 2 of each flavor in the box, and you get to see which one is your favorite. Not only are they great tasting, but they're healthy too. Check out the macros: 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, just 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty and all healthy. And Built Bar is the official protein of the US track and field team. Maybe they need to be the official protein bar of the US basketball team. We'll see. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. The promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Okay, so let's bring in Alex Wolfe, who is the host of the Locked On Knicks podcast. Alex, welcome to Locked On NBA.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, it's great to be back, man. Haven't been on the big show for a minute since the Knicks got knocked out of the playoffs, so it's good to be making an appearance again.
So let's talk about something that isn't the Knicks here, and let's talk about Team USA, because the first game for Team USA at the Olympics happened, I don't know, about 12 hours or so ago now at the time that we're recording. They went up against France, and it wasn't particularly good. I think that's fair to say. They lose 83-76. 83-76. That's the final score. Because sometimes finding these international box scores is not particularly easy, as we've discussed already. They lose that game, Alex. Let's start with the basic question: is the USA still, or should they still be considered the gold medal favorite here in the Olympics?
I mean, I guess so. Like based on talent alone, they should be, right? I still think so. I tweeted earlier today, I think the U.S. has kind of come to this realization through the last FIBAs and now in the Olympics that they can't really just roll in with a squad of, however many NBA guys and treat this like pickup basketball anymore and expect to just like crush and go to a win. Like the talent level has gotten higher around the world. A lot of these world teams, they practice a lot more together. They treat this like more of a privilege than something that they're begrudgingly accepting. It seems like it's not something that at least not in the last few years, that a lot of guys on Team USA have been super proud to, do and to, put on for their country sort of. Whereas a lot of these guys on the other teams have years and years of chemistry together because they always play together on the international teams. So to roundabout answer your question, I mean, I guess you could maybe start putting some teams maybe on equal footing with the US. I do think that if they find that gear and find themselves and find, a coherent system and kind of commit to doing something, that they could still win the gold. But if they look like they've looked in these exhibition games this year and like they did in this first game against France, I mean, they were kind of a mess. I don't really know what it was that they were attempting to do, but they clearly did not succeed in achieving it.
Yeah, and the thing you mentioned there about chemistry is correct, because most of these other teams, these international squads, they have played together with the same lineup and the similar rotation for years, 4 years, 8 years, 6 years, whatever it is. Like these, you play France and you know you're going to have Batum and Gobert and Fournier and De Colo, and you're going to have Luawu Cabral, and you're going to have these guys playing, and you play Australia, and you know it's going to be Mills, and it's going to be Ingles, and it's going to be Dellavedova, and it's going to be Baines, and it's going to be these same guys, and Rubio is going to be out there for Spain. And all of these same players are going to be playing for these teams consistently, whereas the US, they just throw different guys in. So Zach LaVine and Bam Adebayo are starting, and other times LeBron would have been a starter, and you have so many different guys moving in or out. And I think that is a part of it, and we're seeing that again, that you can't just throw together players who are all these high usage stars and expect it all to work. And the USA did sort of, I guess, try to change that around by bringing guys like Jeremy Grant, Keldon Johnson, JaVale McGee, but then they didn't even play Jeremy Grant in this game. So there is still things to be worked out, but the thing that stands out the most when we talk about being favourite for gold medals, I think they still are, but again, they're losing too many games to be say that they're just outright clear favourites. But Kevin Durant's not going to be 1 of 6 from 3. He's not going to have 5 fouls and score only 10 points in most of these games. So we can expect a better performance there. We can expect a better performance from Damian Lillard. But it's not going to be, I think it's fair to say, Alex, it's not going to be the cakewalk that it has been in previous years.
No, yeah, certainly not. I mean, and I would almost even push back a little bit on the Durant thing too. And, maybe say like Durant, Draymond Green, Bam Adebayo. I mean, I think those guys can expect to be in a decent amount of foul trouble in these Olympics because the U.S. just didn't really bring a lot of size with them. They didn't. We saw that in this game against France, right? Like guys that Rudy Gobert, obviously, multiple time defensive player of the year, deservedly so. He's a fantastic defensive player, but there's it was I struggle to even remember his first name. Is it Mustafa Fall, the one center off the bench for France?
Pretty sure that's his name.
And Vincent Poirier, who's barely an NBA player. I mean, they were throwing out 2 big lineups, against the U.S. And that was one of the things that really led to that huge third quarter run by France was they threw out this 2 big lineup where they were essentially playing 2, centers. And because of this international style of play and everything else, it didn't, in the NBA, that would be a death sentence. In this tournament, that was something that really flummoxed the U.S. and, helped get some of their guys in foul trouble and helped France kind of establish this position where they said, okay, beat us from 3, and if you can't beat us from 3, you're not going to get a single thing on the inside. And I don't know what it is with, international competition, but I always seem to notice this, particularly in the Olympics, although maybe that's just most of when I watch international competition, but the rims always seem, it sounds weird, but they somehow seem softer and more bouncy. I mean, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just that the ball feels different to the guys to the NBA, but something about it, like their 3-point shot just doesn't seem to drop quite as well. And especially didn't in this game. I mean, he did have a number of good looks from 3 and just couldn't seem to find the range with them. So I don't know. There's a lot of different things at play here, but one thing that was made even more abundant today, which we kind of knew already, going into things based off how the exhibitions went, is this team was kind of built like a 2K roster and not so much like a team that took into account, positional versatility and positional needs and stuff like that, because there just really is not enough bigs on this team when Team USA historically has carried like 4 or 5 like true power forward centers on the roster. And they just don't have that this year. They do not have size on their side, and it's going to be like a really huge thing for them to overcome during these Olympic Games.
I think part of that is that you look at the NBA big men, that all of the good big men are not American. So it's Gobert, it's Embiid, it's Jokic. So none of those are American. Karl Anthony Towns, it's not American. Like, how far down the list do you have to go to find the best American center? Bam is probably it, and he's there as their starting center. But then where else do you go? Like, so many of these centers, Yusuf Nurkic, another pretty high level center that's not American. Like, there are plenty of them as you go through. Clint Capella, not American. Like, all of these guys that we go through, the Americans producing centers. Obviously, Anthony Davis would make a big difference if he was here playing. but he's not. But, American centers in general, they are not at the level of international big men, and that is what I think opposing teams and opposing nations are going to be trying to to exploit throughout this Tokyo competition. Now, I think we also have to acknowledge, though, Alex, that the fact that Chris Middleton, Devin Booker, and Drew Holiday just arrived yesterday. I think before this game, or a couple of days before. Booker scored 4 points on 1 of 6 shooting. Middleton went scoreless, only took 2 shots and did nothing. Drew Holiday took plenty of shots, and he was pretty solid coming off the bench, but those guys aren't going to be feeling particularly fresh after the NBA final. So there is that part of it, and we do expect the US to get better, and France is a top-tier opponent, and they might be able to work themselves into some form against some other opponents, but this is, again, not the absolute straightforward competition that we have seen in the past. And I think that Americans, Alex, should be prepared for a chance that they don't win the gold medal here. And I think that is something that it's not going to be seen as a complete embarrassment because of the quality of these other teams, but it is something that people need to be prepared for.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that there's a really decent chance that we see a 2004-esque result. Maybe they end up with a bronze. I think it's even possible that we see a 2019 FIBA's result where they just don't medal at all. I think that team finished 7th or something. I mean, it was not pretty at all. And to your point too, like Booker and Holiday and Middleton came in, and I don't think Middleton played a minute, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he did. He took 2 shots and missed them.
Okay, my mistake. Yeah, so it was a very forgettable couple minutes then in that case. But I mean, Drew Holiday, for what it's worth, was like the only reason that this team had a chance at winning this game today. It's like he had the championship glow on him. So yeah, it's bizarre though. I mean, it is. I honestly, and I mean, I guess this again speaks to that. How dedicated are these guys to playing for Team USA? The fact that the US couldn't find replacements for 3 guys that just played in the finals. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see any reason why those 3 guys should have played, and it's kind of unfair to them. I feel like I know they want to represent the US and everything, and that's great, but you would have thought that they could have maybe found some replacements and been like, hey, you guys shouldn't have to travel to Tokyo from Milwaukee, the day after winning a championship to come here and play for Team USA. And, continue tiring yourself out after just going through a long and grueling NBA postseason after a shortened and grueling season. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really bizarre. Now there's already stuff coming out about how some of the players on the team are complaining that Pop is running like the San Antonio offense for these guys. And I don't know why that would be a bad thing. That's an offense that won like a lot of NBA championships. So, whatever, I guess you could be upset about that if you want to, but I don't know. Just something feels off about this team. As someone I've watched a good amount of USA basketball over the years. I would say the first team that I really got into it with was obviously the Redeem team, which is probably a lot of people's in my age brackets, first Team USA that they really, really cared about. And, ever since then, it's kind of been the U.S. puts together this really decorated group of guys that they bring to the Olympics. And this year, I mean, whether it's just disinterest, whether part of it was COVID concerns, maybe they just don't seem to have that the roster like what they used to have. But then B, there just doesn't seem to be that same verve about this team. You know what I mean? There isn't that swagger. There isn't that, feeling that they're the best and that they should be the best and that they should win this thing. It's just, I don't know. They seem like kind of a broken team to me at this moment, at least based off of, how the exhibitions went and how this first game went. So it's a pretty ugly scene for Team USA. So yeah, I mean, if you're pulling real hard for Team USA this year, I would say definitely brace yourself for at least the possibility of, a bronze medal perhaps, or perhaps even no medal, just with how they've played so far versus how well some of these other teams around the world have played.
It's going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out. Of course, we'll cover USA basketball here on Locked On NBA, but any Knicks stuff that you're after, Alex will have for us over on Locked On Knicks. Alex, thanks for coming on Locked On NBA and talking about Team USA with me.
Oh, of course. And I just want to real quick say that Julius Randle maybe could have influenced this, but they took Keldon Johnson instead.
That is potentially true. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.